What's up, everybody? Welcome to another great episode of the Schrager Hour. It's week 9 of the NFL season, and we have two tremendous guests. We keep on delivering. The McVay episode went bananas. The clips went social, viral, all that stuff. I think we're gonna have some good moments on this podcast as well, with some good conversations with two really good guests. But Brian Hoyer to talk about Drake Maye, and then Michael Irvin is joining to talk a little Cowboys with us. When things couldn't get any lower, we had another game where the Cowboys gave up about 1 million points and 1 million yards. I got to hear Irv's thoughts. I miss having Irv on TV. We're going to bring Irv on, and we're going to get his thoughts on the state of the Cowboys. But I was in Kansas City on Monday night and got the opportunity to speak with a lot of folks on both sidelines in Kansas City and in Washington. There's an interesting debate going on amongst NFL teams, amongst NFL viewers, and amongst the morning shows, which I'm a part of. Is there already a Jayden Daniels, Drake Maye conversation that we need to have? I say this because this is what we do. It's always one or the other. It's all right. Last year it was Jayden Daniels or Caleb Williams, and Drake Maye and Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy weren't really even in the conversation yet as the fellow, first year quarterbacks, with Michael Penix, of course, in the conversation. But with Caleb kind of taking a little longer to develop, it has now emerged as Drake Maye being the one challenging Jayden Daniels in that conversation. And I find it so fascinating because you go one by one through these guys, and they all have their own stories to tell and their own journeys that they're going to be going on. Jayden Daniels shot out of a cannon in year one. Revisionist history will have people saying, yeah, but they won all those scores in heroic, lucky fashion, and they did it with one score wins. And if you really look at it, they got lucky on a few different plays, and a Hail Mary is not going to happen every year, and everything just went right. Well, I don't think the Commanders looked at it that way, because they went all in on this season. They have the oldest roster in the NFL. And when we were there in Kansas City, I'm watching them warm up, and it's so many familiar faces. It's like, gosh, Zach Ertz might be their most viable offensive weapon right now. And then Bobby Wagner is still the heart and soul of that defense, and Marcus Lattimore. And these guys are playing fine. You're asking a lot from those guys in their 30s to now find a way to keep this team afloat when Jayden Daniels not on the field. And Marcus Mariota played nobly. I mean, I think he played fine. He was balling in the first half and then came back down to earth. But this team is built for now. There's some young guys on there, of course, and it's fun to see Wild Bill out there at running back, and he's playing well. And there's guys on the defensive side of the ball that have made their names. Sandstrom, of course, has been playing well for 2 years in Washington. But that is an interesting story. And now Jayden Daniels comes back, and as everyone is shifting from Jayden to Drake Maye as the guy, it's going to be a fascinating watch as they are a 3-5 team going out on a Sunday night against Seattle. What we get from Washington. Do they have any fight left? Because that was an old roster I watched warm up on Monday night, and that's no fault to them. It's no fault to Adam Peters. This is what they thought they were going to do, getting Tunzel, getting Debo, who, by the way, both playing great this season. The thought was that Jayden Daniels is right there, and we're going to make the leap. It hasn't happened. All right, well, then there's Drake Maye, which everything is going in one direction. It's ascending. They're in first place in the AFC East. He's got the right offensive coordinator. He's got the right mentality. He's the toast of the town. He's got the right head coach. And the owner showed that, hey, if it doesn't work after a year, you could pull the plug and you could start all over. That's what he did with the Gerard Mayo situation. Said, he's out. We're bringing in Vrabel, and we're bringing in Josh McDaniels, bringing in Todd Downing. And now you're going to get coaching. And now let's see if we could go and make that leap. He has. Caleb Williams, 4-game winning streak. Not a single person was like, Caleb Williams is having a great season. They had a 4-game winning streak with the number 1 overall pick, and I don't think I heard Caleb Williams' name mentioned for a month. Fascinating to see what happens over the next few weeks in Chicago. Michael Penix on the mend. Kirk Cousins comes in, stinks it up, looks 100 years old. Can Penix get this Falcons team, which as recent as 2 weeks ago, I'm on this podcast raving about them. Can he get them back on track? How about Bo Nix threw 4 touchdown passes, now has 2 rookies in Bryant and Harvey. He's got a team that's contending for a division title. Is he going to be that guy? And then there's JJ McCarthy. What do we do here? We had Kevin O'Connell on 2 weeks ago, and I didn't hammer him on McCarthy questions because what's he supposed to say? He's been out injured. The thought was McCarthy would be injured 2 to 6 weeks. He took all 6 weeks. He comes back this weekend. They play the Lions. It's a massive game. Fellow Michigan man Tom Brady will be on the call. And Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, who both were in Minnesota last year, are absolutely balling for their respective teams. Daniel Jones, obviously MVP candidate, on this incredible trajectory for that Colts team. And then Sam Darnold is the quarterback of a 5-2 team. And Darnold has Jackson Smith and Jigba on pace to break the all-time record for receiving yards in a season. Look at the chronological order of how these events happened. We first start with the fact that the Vikings signed Sam Darnold to be the backup to whoever the quarterback was going to be that they drafted. If you really want to go into the weeds, and I don't know if I'm breaking news here, the Washington Commanders were very hot on Sam Darnold, and he was into them. But he ended up signing with Minnesota and Kevin O'Connell instead. So the Commanders pivot, they get Mariota in free agency, and then they get Jayden Daniels with the 2nd overall pick. Here was Minnesota drafting in the teens. What are they going to do? Well, they move up. They go and they draft McCarthy, and it looks like it's going to be McCarthy and Darnold might hold the fort for a little bit, but when McCarthy's ready, it'll be his time to shine. McCarthy goes down in preseason. Darnold goes 14-3. We're talking about toast of the town. Darnold this, MVP, all of that. But the final 8 days of Sam Darnold's life as a Minnesota Viking were as bad of 2 performances you could imagine from a quarterback. And it was enough that not only did the Vikings have a decision made, but the national conversation was all in agreement, basically, at that point that, yeah, okay, move on from Darnold, and now it's JJ's time. They don't franchise tag Sam Darnold, a very curious decision. They don't franchise tag Sam Darnold. They don't engage in negotiations with Daniel Jones. He signs with the Colts. They don't go out and proactively court Aaron Rodgers. He goes out and does what he does. And then the big one, it's like, all right, we've got JJ McCarthy. We're going to name him the starter from Go. And are we sure he's the guy? He gets injured after basically 2 games. And I would say he played 1 good quarter. It was the 4th quarter of that Bears season opening win, which he looked great, and the sideline responded wonderfully. He has had 1 good quarter in 2 years as an NFL quarterback when you're going up against a draft class in comparison of Jayden Daniels, of Caleb Williams, of Drake Maye, of Bo Nix, and even Michael Penix has had more experience. And now he's finally going back into the lineup. And I feel like the weight of the world is on JJ McCarthy, and he's about 22 years old. Think about what he has to overcome just perception wise. 1, are you built to be an NFL quarterback? You've been injured twice. One of them a freak incident, the other one an ankle injury. Okay. Are you built to do this because your cohorts in that draft class are? And then B, who walked out the building? Darnold's no longer there. Daniel Jones is no longer there. Wentz is on the shelf, of course. Rodgers never was in the building. There's been a lot of good quarterback talent that's been mentioned and tied around that that Minnesota Vikings team. And yet JJ McCarthy has been the guy and is the prince that the future is promised. And now he actually has to play and do it from a hole. Like, they are not the favorites in the division. I would say the Lions and the Packers are way above them in those conversations. And you could argue the Bears, even though they beat them in week 1, the Bears might be viewed more favorably. Oh, and by the way, his offensive line is horrendous right now due to injury. Gosh, I don't know if there's a single player in the NFL who has more pressure on him from this point on, week 9 through the rest of the season, than JJ McCarthy. And he's doing it on an ankle that's not 100%. And he's doing it in an NFL landscape that has Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, both in that MVP conversation. Good luck, JJ McCarthy. But what a fascinating scenario we have when you look at all those second-year quarterbacks. McCarthy, I think, is the most interesting of all. Kansas City was great. Really enjoyed being at Arrowhead, really enjoyed seeing the Chiefs up close and personal, really enjoyed getting a feel for that environment because here comes Kansas City, but both Denver and LA held serve and won big games last weekend. I think the AFC West is going to send 3 teams to the playoffs. I really do. I think those 3 teams and those 3 quarterbacks are phenomenal. Obviously, we have Mahomes, but Herbert was outstanding against the Vikings last week. And then Bo Nix had his best game as a pro doing that against that Cowboys defense. And yet my week 8 player of the week is a guy who has heard it all and heard it from his owner. It's Justin Fields. Down 2 scores late, Justin Fields finds a way somehow, some way to lead the New York Jets to their first victory of the season. And if his on-field play wasn't commendable enough, his post-game audio is what I want to play for you. If you haven't heard it yet, it's vulnerable, it's eye-opening, and it tells you a little bit about the resolve that Justin Fields has and what you need to have to be a quarterback in this league, which I believe is the hardest position to play in all of sports. Take a listen to Justin Fields after that miraculous comeback victory in Cincinnati.
It's been a lot of, it's been a lot for me, emotionally, spiritually. When I was on the field, I was damn near about to start crying, but not because we won, but just because of the goodness of God and just how everything, works for the greater good. Everything that I've been through this past week, everything that we've been through as a team these past 7 weeks. It was a lot of ups and downs. I got a lot of support from my teammates, from my brothers, from my family, from my friends, and most of all, I'm just thankful, thankful for the Lord's that He blessed me. I mean, shoot, yesterday I'm praying like crazy, just for a win, and this I'm gonna get pretty vulnerable right here, but this week I kind of I found myself in my closet crying, on the ground, laying down, not because of the hardships, not because of the troubles. I felt like, I was built to handle that and I was put in place to handle this situation. But in that moment when I was talking to my best friend, how hard it was and just, not wavering faith-wise, I just had gotten a text from my sister and my stepmom, and it was just an encouraging text on, just keep going and keep spreading the faith. And they just sent me a link on social media. And I tell you guys all the time that I'm not on social media, so I didn't see it. So that was just it was just a sign from God for me to keep going and that, I'm in the right place. Yesterday I was just praying over and over and over again, like, just one win. And, but all that to say is that, God is real, God is good, and everything that we go through in this life is for a purpose. So, yeah.
That's phenomenal. That is phenomenal. That is a quarterback bearing his soul. That is a quarterback who is he walks the walk and talks the talk. And getting to know Justin Fields a little bit, he is not on social media. He is not a huge talker. He's certainly not a look at me guy. To be so vulnerable and to share that in the post game, hats off to him. I would add this, and I am always hesitant to get too dramatic or to be too over the top with this stuff, because there's a thin line between using a situation and connecting dots and saying it was cause and effect, or even if it was spiritually related. But to go through the day of Sunday for the New York Jets organization, and for a lot of people who have been a part of that organization, and if you know me, I'm connected in a lot of ways to that organization through a lot of people who work there and who have worked there, and a lot of the ex-players, and just being in the New York market, to get the bone-crushing news and the devastating news in the morning of Nick Mangold's passing on Sunday, which was so chilling And I got a text from a trusted source about probably 20 minutes before the news went public. And I nearly fell down, and I was walking around New York City. I almost fell down because we can go through the timeline of it. It just felt like it happened so fast based on, Nick's social media post earlier in the month. To get that news and then to go play a game about 40 minutes from where Nick Mangold grew up and played his high school ball, and then to be down 2 scores and the team with so many players out. And it's not just the quarterback, Tyrod Taylor, who might have been the expected starter, but like Sauce and Garrett Wilson and whoever else. And then to go find a way to win. And it's the first win of the season. And to do so with that as the backdrop, and with what Woody Johnson said earlier in the week about the quarterback position. I don't know if the Jets win another game all season, but that was a cool moment. That was a beautiful moment. And for Justin Fields to take it to a personal level without the Mangold thing being even a part of it, I think you get to see the human side of some of these people and some of these players. And I just thought it was beautiful from Justin Fields, who, by the way, played a heck of a game. We always do a sports media winner on this show. And I am not Andrew Marchand or John Orand or Jimmy Traina, but I love when we can give a little love to some of the people behind the mic. And in this case, everyone gave their love to Joe Davis and John Smoltz for their incredible call of the Freddie Freeman home run in the wee hours of Game 3 in the World Series. But I'm going to go to the ESPN radio call because this didn't get as much love. And our guy, Boog Sciambi, was fantastic. Fantastic. Now, let me give you the backdrop here. Of course, 18 innings. It's about 2 a.m. on the East Coast. They've been on for hours and hours and innings and innings. And then Freddie Freeman steps up to the plate and goes yard. Here was the call from Boog, which I thought was just awesome, especially given the amount of hours he had already been calling a baseball game.
3-2 now. Little ready, kick steals. Swing and a high fly ball, center field. Varsho back, near the wall, at the track, gone! Freddie Freeman! A home run to center field. Freeman walks it off in the 18th. Oh, Freddie delivers. And they wait to mob him at home plate. The Dodgers in 18 win it. 6-5, Freddie goes yard. Man. What a moment, Freddie Freeman. And look at this. Ohtani is sprinting out to left field. And he and Yamamoto and Sasaki and Will Ireton embrace and jump up and down so Yamamoto does not have to pitch. Man, that was some kind of finish.
Just the reactions from every player. Kershaw doing almost a cartwheel at home plate.
The usual suspects.
Yeah.
And it's Freddie Freeman again with a walk-off in the World Series.
In the World Series.
Eduardo Perez and Ches Mendoza also on the call. I also love hearing that. Randy Newman, I love LA. What a moment. And then, of course, the Blue Jays come the next night and they beat them, and it's 2-2. And we're recording this. This game will be on Wednesday night. And then, of course, Friday, they go back to Toronto. I'm into the World Series. I love it. But I was patting myself on the back for interviewing Sam Darnold after midnight, and I thought I was doing the Lord's work, and I was this incredible coal miner down in the coal mine, just doing blue collar work. No. If you're talking about broadcasters who grinded it out, it was that crew, and of course it was Joe Davis and Smoltz and Kenny Rosenthal and the Fox guys as well. Loving the World Series, but I love that call. So shout out to Boog, fantastic job. A quick preview of Week 9 before we get our guests going here. I love 2 of these matchups, and one of them could be the AFC Championship preview, or it could just be 2 teams in a crowded AFC field. What do we make of Bills Chiefs? Before the season, we all circled this on the calendar and said it's the biggest game of the year, and we didn't expect that the Bills would stutter and have some issues against both the Patriots and the Falcons. We didn't expect the Chiefs to start off 0-2 and then lose in week 4 to the Jacksonville Jaguars on Monday Night Football. Yet here we are, and the game is monstrous. I think it's bigger for the Bills and the Chiefs, though. And hear me out. Yes, the Bills have beaten the Chiefs countless times in the regular season. I think home field really matters this year. I really do. I think it might be the grand separator from these teams. And this one could be the tiebreaker. I also think Buffalo Bills have some serious holes right now. Defensive line, losing Ed Oliver was massive. And I also think on the outside, there's some real questions with Buffalo. Can they get enough offense? Can they generate enough speed? Can they have a deep threat? Because they haven't shown that yet. Yes, Shakir had a big play against the Panthers. But for the most part, we know Kansas City can break your back at any moment with Worthy and Rice and Hollywood Brown and those guys. Who's that for the Bills? They have a different brand of football. They run it, and we saw it from James Cook. How's this game going to be played? What is the pace going to be like? And if the Bills lose, does that put them in a hole, not only with the Chiefs as far as home field advantage for the playoffs, does that put them in a 2-game hole with the Patriots, who are suddenly owners of the tiebreaker against them and playing better than anyone in football? Cannot wait for that game. Before the season, we circled it as, yep, these are the two teams, and maybe the Ravens. No one had any idea that the stakes would be this high going into week 9. And the other game that's a little sneakier that maybe not everyone's talking about is that Detroit-Minnesota game. What if J.J. McCarthy comes out and wins? And what if McCarthy can actually do the job? Then we're inserting Minnesota back into that conversation, which we were putting them in before the season started, because this was a team that won 14 games and decided to move on from their quarterback because he wasn't enough to get him over the hump. J.J. McCarthy, we start the pod with you and we end the monologue with you. All eyes are on the second-year quarterback out of Michigan. Can he get the job done? Can he save this season for the Vikings? And can he put his name in the conversation with those other second-year quarterbacks who are having so much success? With no further ado, one of the most electric football players to ever grace a gridiron, one of the greatest people to ever be on television talking about football, and someone who has always been so kind and so good to me at our shared time at my former employer, NFL Network. Here's a guy who I absolutely adore, Mr. Michael Irvin. Welcome to the Schrager Hour.
Hey, I appreciate you having me, Schrager. We were just talking about, Pete, how different things are now. You know, everything was about a studio. You know, and give them credit, Pete. Peter, we got to give them credit. They've been telling us this forever. And those NFL summits, every year, they brought us. They told us this was going to happen.
They did.
They showed us this happening. And we're over there thinking, that's kind of like powwow drink hour with the guys. What are we talking about? But
they did. But I will tell you,
they
I think you feel the same way I do. There's nothing like walking into a live studio with your friends and the light comes on. It's a little different than Zoom. You have to admit
it. It is absolutely, it is. And even I think a lot of people that are, you know, going towards this platform and everything, they're starting to see it's something different when it's everybody, even if we're doing it on these platforms, but still in the same room, that, you know, because it's all like a locker room. You know what I mean? And you want to sit around with the guys. It just seems like more come out in those settings than if it was these settings sometimes.
You know, a clip came out recently and it was from 2002 and it was you on the Best Damn Sports Show and you were doing the same stuff you've been, and I'm like, gosh, Irv has been doing this for so long and yet you still bring the same fire. Do you remember those days going on?
Man. Oh God, yes. Yeah. Pete, that's when that's when we were really trying to come off the Walter Cronkite broadcasting. Well, today, the Dallas Cowboys won the game 91-90. You know, get out of here with that. Sports is about passion. When I first started in the business, they were telling me, you know, Michael, you have to remain objective now. You can't be. I said, I'm not gonna be trying to lie to people. They know I'm a Cowboy fan. I said, come on, dude. That, you know, and it was just time to stop that old craziness. Now, what people want to do, they want to know you're passionate about your team. They're passionate about their team, and we can argue and duke it out. You
No
know what
doubt.
I'm saying? That's the fun part of it. So yeah, it has changed, man. And I do still have the passport, Peter. I've said a million times, and that doesn't change. Without football, I don't know where I would be. I do know where I'd be, dead or in prison or something crazy somewhere. So I'm blessed to have it in my life, all my life. I think that's the best way so I can have my best life.
I've just watched, over the summer, the Netflix series, the Jerry Jones one, and you play the central role. I think you're so good in it. And I said it on this show, like after I watched it, I'm like, Michael Irvin steals the show in every scene. He's the MVP of the whole series. But I didn't know your life story, and I apologize. I didn't one of 18 siblings.
Yeah, 17, one of 17. It's like 16 brothers and sisters. But yeah, man. And coming up in Fort Lauderdale. Now, guys, I think that don't come up in such poverty like what we had what I came up in, or almost, brag about it like they really came up in poverty. They really, and it's a good thing that they don't know it like we knew it. Like, you think about it, I was born in 66. Martin Luther King, he got killed in 68, so this was in that transition, all in the transition. Peter, I remember when I got in the league, oh my God, I get emotional thinking about it. But I remember sending my mom her first credit card. She had never had a credit card. I remember her calling me saying, "Baby, they let me get all this grocery, and I didn't give them any money." I said, "Well, what did you do, baby?" She said, "What? That he grabbed that card and he gave it back to me, and I walked out." I said, "Oh, baby, don't worry. We paid for it. We paid for it." But
She had never used a credit card.
Never. Where'd she get a credit card from? Well, you know what I mean? Just never had that. So that was, those are the things. That you hold
you
on
could
to.
tell
And that
every
you love
time.
the game because
Every
what it
time you
did.
took the field, you
Right,
brought that
right,
with you.
right. And I brought it all with me, Peter. And that was my only goal, was to get my baby, my mom, to a better living. She used to tell me that all my life. All my life, she said this to me. From the time I was born, I promise you, she would always say to me, "Baby, I ain't worried anymore. God has told me you will make my latter days greater than my former days." I swear to you, Peter, I heard that every day of my life. So yeah, when I went to football on the football field, I had a real purpose.
When Jimmy Johnson walks into your living room as a high school player and makes his original pitch, what is that encounter like? And how does he get you and your mom and all of your siblings to say, this is the man who's going to take us to that next step?
Well, Jimmy never had that opportunity to
Was
walk
it
into
Howard? Was that who it was?
It was Howard. Howard was the man, right?
Talk about Howard Schnellenberger a little bit. I
Howard
think our
had just
viewers might
gotten
think of
there. Let me
you
tell
and not
you what
even know.
Howard did. Howard had just got, he was there. He had came to Miami. You guys probably saw the 30 for 30, and Miami had been losing for so long. And Howard said, "I can change this. I can turn it around, but you have to give me the authority to go wherever I want to go and get the players I want to get. Basically, let me get the guys out of the ghetto. The ghettos of Florida. I mean, the real ghettos. And Coral Gables was this affluent place, this area we wouldn't even go in. Black people wouldn't even go to Coral Gables because the richest area down there, and everybody there, the police, and the police saw you looking over that way, they're gonna take you to jail. That's how we saw it in the ghetto. We was like, boy, if they see you looking at Coral Gables, they'll take you to jail. But when they gave them the authority to come in, Howard came in and recruited us. I was at a basketball game. Howard landed his helicopter on the football field. I'm playing basketball. Like, what is everybody going? What the game's going on? Everybody's running to Howard. He was the man at the time. He recruited me, and then Howard got the job with the USFL. So the year I was coming, after he recruited me, he left, and Jimmy came in. But Jimmy and I connected right away. Jimmy's my man. I was looking at a picture yesterday. It was me and Jimmy, Rich Del Ripple, and Fresh West. You know Fresh West?
I know
Worldwide.
Worldwide West very well.
Worldwide West.
I know Jimmy has all access to anything he
Right.
ever needs.
All
Vice
those
versa.
four guys. I swear to you, Peter, I'm gonna post it today. I'm gonna post that picture today. But it's those 4 guys. Those like the first guys I met coming into Miami.
How
You
cool is
know,
that?
that was 40 years ago,
So
man.
Jimmy, I used to work with Jimmy on the Fox pregame for many years, and he would say that like the reason he and Wes connected was because no one recruited from that part of Jersey. And here comes Jimmy, and Wes was his gateway to New Jersey in the Northeast that had never existed before.
Anything and everything Jimmy opened up. And he helped Jimmy keep us at bay. You know, Fresh, he had to hook up with Nike. Remember, we're coming from the ghetto. We don't even, and we're playing cards all night with him, and he's letting us win new Nikes. He's letting us win because he's gonna give us the Nikes anyway. But we're gambling. I'm like, no, I'm about to go run all kind of touchdowns on you on Saturday. I just want me a pair of Nikes. You know what I mean? I ain't never got a pair of new Nikes. Nobody could afford to buy that stuff back then, you know, when you put it in perspective. So yeah, it was just, you know, and Rich Dalrymple, he came into Miami with me, right?
So for the listeners, Rich Dalrymple, longtime PR
Right.
guy of Notre Dame and the Cowboys, but I didn't know Miami. I didn't know Miami.
Yeah. Miami. He was Miami. He came to Miami with me. The first day, this is our first day, right? He was in charge of the freshmen. That means he had the bottom job. We were the bottom people. You know what I'm saying? Rich had the bottom job. We were the bottom people. So I'm sitting out there, and Rich is in charge of us. We're at media day. The seniors are talking. Then the juniors, then the sophomore goes. And I'm just thinking, I said, nobody really wants to talk to the freshmen. I said, this is not smart. I mean, why don't we just go and get out of here and then everybody can take their time and not have to worry about some time frame? And Rich said, wait a minute, who are you? I said, my name's Michael. He said, what position you play? I said, I play wide receiver. He said, wearing number 47? Shut up. You won't be around. You won't be around here long. Right. I said, I'll be around here longer than you. And that's how Rich and I literally met. And then, of course, I spent every day in his office saying, man, you got to give me some more publicity. I got to get drafted. I got to take care of my mom, man. You're playing. And we became best friends. So, yeah, man, those dudes, you literally grabbed me at 18 years old when I was a kid. And that's what's great about that whole journey. I've been in football all my life, but it's the people that I've been around that I call the miracles on my journey, like those 3 guys.
The documentary tells the story well, but I think for those who haven't watched it yet, you get there and it's Landry, and it's a different style than the U. It's a different style than Jimmy, and it's like the latter years of Landry where he might not be what he was in the 70s and early 80s. And I think it was a game against Green Bay. And tell that story because I think it's a fascinating story on how you brought a youthful exuberance, but also what you're made of compared to maybe what you were walking into.
Well, it was, there were different times. You know, I had come from Miami, where we lost maybe 2 games my whole tenure there, you know. And the way Jimmy had made us, it was always about work. And we worked so hard in practice that made games fun. And I was a whole different brand. When I got here, oh my God, when I first got drafted to Dallas, they were like, what now? This is what we're doing in Dallas? We're drafting these now? These kind of people now, basically. How you know, Tom Landry had never drafted anybody with a big rope chain on, I had earrings in. I don't even think they were allowed to wear earrings at the time and all of that. So you know, who was it? He had to say, take Shram. Take Shram had to say to the whole community, please, guys, please, just give us a little time. We promise you, this young kid will help our return to the living. He's going to get us back in the playoffs to get us back. You know, but they didn't want to hear that, man. So yeah, I was a little different than everything. And then when we got here, you know, Tom was a great coach, and he had and a loyal coach and a great man, an even greater man than he really was coaching. That's hard to say because he was a great coach, but really a great man. But probably held on to people longer than he had should have. You know, I would imagine if Jim and I would have come into an end How could you know what I mean?
How is he going to say goodbye? I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how is he going to say? So I could understand why they had such success and why it was. But yeah, when I came in, it was totally different. Man, I mean, we lost our first game. We were playing against Pittsburgh. It was Pittsburgh
It was Pittsburgh. Sorry, not Green Bay. Yeah.
Right. I got Rod Woodson. I catch a curl route. I catch it really on the other guy, but Rod Woodson runs me down in the end zone. Right, I score a touchdown, rookie. I said, what? Even though it was on the other guy, you were the closest. It was like basketball. The closest person to you, that's who you dunked on. Bam, you got dunked on. So so I got up. I told you I'm here now. We about to beat everybody's butt. Peter, we lost every game. I mean, we got our butts whooped. Now, remember, from Miami, losing was unacceptable. It was unacceptable. I was literally crying about the Lord, literally crying. And I had guys coming up to me saying, hey, man, it's the NFL. Bro, we don't do that here. We pick up next on Tuesday. I was like, what the hell? Now that was that was shocking because you work hard to come
Of
and go against
course.
the best. I want to get to go against the best, and now I got here, and so. But I understood that more too as you got older and down the line in the league. Yeah, things dissipate. I'm glad for me the desire to win has never left,
Yeah.
even now to this day.
I love it.
I don't want that to ever leave. Over all things, winning is the most important thing. Because I win in my prospective sport, or win in whatever my job is, the rest will take care of itself. The money's going to follow. Everything else, championships will follow. Everything else will follow if I just win.
And your loyalty to your teammates, whether it was on TV or in football or in life, is unquestioned. Speaking of your teammates, I had a great hour and catching up with Troy on Monday night. He was in town in Kansas City, so was I. We sat down and we had a drink and we were hanging. And I love your relationship with Troy, and I love the way that you guys speak of each other and the jokes that you have, but also through thick and thin, always having each other's backs. When he gets drafted to the Cowboys, it's not a smooth transition for him either. Yet you and him immediately connected, even though you had a Miami quarterback that was in the room. So what was the relationship with Troy like when he gets there? And then obviously now as it's developed?
Well, hey, listen, when we got Troy, I was just wow. Okay, I knew what kind of quarterback Troy was. And remember, I went that first year, 3-13. I literally cried. I mean, who cried? They were talking about me like it was like look at this kid, man. He's just a kid. What's he crying about a game? I was literally crying. So the next year we get Troy. I had Kevin Sweeney, Steve Pallure, and Danny White at my quarterback. I thought I win championships everywhere.
Yeah.
All I need is any quarterback. And then I got here, and that any quarterback stuff didn't work at this level, So we were getting Troy. I was like, okay, I'm good now because I got my quarterback. I can do it from here on out. And we lost 15 games that year. I was like, damn, this thing is different. You got to learn this is different, man. The game is different. Then that third year, we get Emmett and we kind of get on a roll, But to this day, man, Peter, listen, I love no one like I love Troy Aikman, and I appreciate his friendship. I appreciate being his teammate, and even the things he say now. I'm never. He's always tried to step in and give people a perspective since they gather their own from things that may have happened, but give people a perspective of the kind of man he sees me to be, and I love him for that. Him, Dion, Emmett, all of us, we're still great friends, right? And so even I was the first one when we're doing a text on a text group or whatever, I'm texting them all. And at the end of when we get done, I'll be like, all right, love you guys. And then, first yeah, okay. All right, but love you guys. I'm always saying love you guys. It took a little while to break them all down, but they all come back.
Now it's I love you back.
Now, or they'll tell me we'll hit text, love you, man. But it took a minute to break them all down.
It's special.
It's so funny to me.
It's special. All right, let's move it to current times. It's a dark period for the Cowboys going in after that week that they just had. And I look at you as Mr. Miami, but I also look at you as the voice of the Cowboys and the fans, but also a pulse of that franchise for so many years. Give Cowboys fans a reason for optimism, or if you want to take it a different way, is it time to maybe give up hope on this season?
No, it's not. You don't. The good thing about this season, and I'll start saying that the good thing about this season is there's no dominance. We're not going to have at the end of this year, with only the exception of possibly the Colts,
Mm,
but it's going to be, that even that blows my mind to think in
it's
Daniel Jones, who turns into Indiana Jones, and now all of a sudden lead a 15-2 team or 14-3 team. I believe the teams that go through this playoff, they're going to end up with a 11-6, 12-5 record. Your
mm.
record. So maybe a 10-7 sneak in there because of that balance. So yeah, I do believe because the Cowboys have an ability to put 40 points on the
Yes,
board.
they do.
40 points on the board. That's what they've done at home. You know, if they can just learn to play the same way on the road, then you got an opportunity. I hoped that last week against Denver would show that learning is here. Now that they have CeeDee Lamb back, it was their first road game with George in full blossom, in full bloom, and then CeeDee Lamb back. And of course that didn't happen, even though Patrick Surtain got hurt.
Mhm.
That Denver game, I thought did you watch Patrick Mahomes?
I did. I was there.
But it was insane. It's insane how he plays with pressure all around, and he never feels the pressure. Dak felt pressure
Mm.
the other day, and it made him make some throws. That interception on the crossing route, you didn't have to throw that ball. There was nobody really around him, but he got rid of the ball too quickly and messed up. So yeah, I do think they have a chance though with that offense, but they got to do it. Dak has to be the
I know.
MVP.
And
He
that's the
can't. He
thing.
cannot play like he played the other day.
There's no margin for error for the
Right.
offense, which is such a
Right.
hard way to play every single week. And that's just what it is. I ask, like, eh, trading Mike.
Peter. I'm going to narrow that gate.
Okay.
I'm going to narrow that gate. You went the offense, and you're right, the offense, but ultimately that offense is only going to move through Dak, and Dak has to be just no mistakes at all. You got to make because you have the weapons and you have the players that can
It's
make the
asking a
plays.
lot from anybody, Mahomes
Yes,
included. You
yes.
cannot make a
Hey,
mistake.
Patrick Mahomes do it. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I would think it was out of the realm of possibility if I didn't see it Monday night. I was telling someone I watched Jordan Love hit 20
20 straight.
straight passes. And that was way less impressive. He threw for 360 yards, 4 TDs, and it paled in comparison to what I saw Patrick Mahomes do Monday night. And he didn't throw for anywhere near them
No.
numbers. It's the difference. All the Jordan Love passes, he stood right back in the pocket and drop. So it was Jordan's people around him that gave him the opportunity to make those plays. Now, all of Patrick Mahomes, it was, you hear, you get a pre-snap quarterback, you got a post-snap quarterback. I call him a 3D. He has a pre-snap quarterback, post-snap quarterback, but a post-op quarterback also. That means when you done ran all your operations, all your defense, you think you're solid on, now he operates on you. So you can't beat him. You cannot beat him. I need Dak playing like that.
That's
You give Patrick Mahomes this team, he'll take it to the Super Bowl. And that's what Dak has to do if
yeah.
they're going to get there.
Yeah.
And that's what Dak has to do if they're going. He's going to have to play with all that pressure and never feel it. Only think about winning that championship.
Does it kill you seeing Micah having the success in Green Bay? Just knowing from the Cowboys standpoint that he was traded for basically what it looks like to be 60 cents on the dollar right before the start of the season.
It kills me for both sides. I will revel in hurt and pain more so on the Cowboys side, because right now, if only you had Michael Parsons, all of everything else works in concert. And that's where I think if someone asked me the biggest mistake or the biggest illusion or the biggest misperception that they had was they didn't understand how those two commingled. Why did you pay Trayvon Diggs if you're not planning on paying Michael Parsons? But Trayvon Diggs is an old receiver that's playing defensive back, so he read routes and he wants to jump that first route.
Mm-hmm.
With Michael Parsons getting to the quarterback, he had to throw that first route. So those two work well together. Now Trayvon Diggs get lit up because he's jumping the first route, but there's no pressure on the quarterback. He doesn't throw the first route. So now he's opening the second window, opening the third window, or they're running outs and ups on him. So once you gave up one, you should have, you know what I mean? That's the problem I have. But in the other side, if Michael Parsons was on this team, Dallas would be the favorites right now.
You think?
What? If Michael Parsons were back on this team, Dallas would absolutely be the favorite right now. With that team on offense and Michael Parsons alone on this team, yes, absolutely, they would be the favorites. Now, I say I heard for both sides. All of that's on Dallas side. On Michael Parsons' side, listen, Peter, he really in the end did not. If you go take home money, you get a big advantage there by going to Green Bay. He didn't really get a big advantage there. He's going to pay some extra taxes over there. That deal really is about 5 years. That $42 million a year. 47 a year in new money. That's if you just chop off the last year, but we don't do that. We actually have to put that year in. He's not going to start next year. He's going to start playing this year. So it's 5 years for $42 million. They were at 41 with Jerry, with the extra year on, and you can get the year knocked off. And here's what I'm saying. You've already gotten rid of his $200 million podcast. Somebody would have given him that for that podcast. Nobody gives
Fascinating. Did not think of that. No one's given a Green Bay Packer that.
Nobody's giving you anything for your Green Bay Packer podcast. You're not getting. Your family lives here. He's already been back at the fair, state fair with his family. Why? Why would you leave? Why would you let an agent or anybody dictate to you where you can spend your career when it was not blow away money to make me leave my city? I would have made them sit their ass in the room and work it out. I don't care. Both of y'all gonna work it out. But that was just me. I just think both of them lost.
No, it's fair. It's a good take. And I would say on the open market, which he probably wouldn't have hit, they would have franchised tag, whatever. He could have dictated that same money and had 10 teams that he could have chosen from.
Right. Anytime. Just wait. If he'd have played that thing out, it'd have been a whole different number. That would have been something different. Because then, yeah, you're right. But either way, he was in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And I just said, his house is still here. He's going to spend the rest of his life here. I don't know. I like walking around in the city that I put it down in. You know what I'm saying? It just, hey, when the restaurants are packed, they're not packed anymore. Come on, we got you. You know what I'm saying? I kind of like that.
I'm going to wrap with this. I saw you at the Netflix fight. We had a great, great hug and embrace, and it was fantastic. Canelo Crawford. You had the most amazing seating assignment. I was a few rows behind you, naturally, but you were sitting next to Charlie Sheen and David Spade and Marshawn Lynch. Please take us through your night.
Oh my God, it was great too to be sitting next to those guys, man. And what a phenomenal event Netflix put on, man. They did a great job, man. And I was talking to some of the guys over there, Brandon and all my guys, Peter, and I'm sure you guys know these guys. And I said, Netflix, this is amazing. I said, you guys made your money on giving people what they want when they want it. He said, yeah, you're right, Michael. That's how. So, that's why the only thing really holds up regular TV is football games. But because everybody, this generation is not like us. When they said be here at 9 o'clock on Wednesday night to see the Jeffersons, I was right there at 9 o'clock on Wednesday night. They don't play that now. You will watch it when we want to watch it, so you got to deliver it.
And I'll watch them all at once if I want.
Right. And that's what he said. He said, since we have that, and that's our audience, whenever we put on an event here at Netflix, it has to be epic. epic. It has to be worth you sitting and spending your time and making an appointment. I thought that was brilliant stuff. You know what I mean? That's brilliant stuff because they put on those epic fights like that was, man. That fight was epic, man. So yeah, I'm enjoying working with those guys. I couldn't sitting up there with those dudes. I said, man, you guys know I got to get a picture, man, and post it. They were like, yeah, Mike, let's post it, man. I can't believe I got to sit here.
What's Charlie Sheen and
Right.
Michael Irvin hanging out like?
Charlie, man, I love Charlie, man. I'm going to get Charlie on my podcast, too.
You have to.
Because he said to me, he said, I can't believe I got to sit here and break down the fight with Michael Irvin. I said, what? Joke, I'm sitting here with Charlie Sheen. You know what I'm saying? And then, Peter, I posted a pic for all of us. You know them comments were lighting our ass up. You know, what a lineup. Then quotes, line them up. You know what I'm saying? Say them up. Man, so I'm showing them the quotes that everybody was saying. We were dying
In real
laughing.
time, while you're sitting there, you're showing them.
While we're sitting, oh my God, it was the greatest thing in the world. That was, that was fun stuff, man. That was just fun stuff.
Well, I would pay good money to forget you on live sports coverage. A Charlie Sheen, Michael Irvin show would be something I would tune into, binge mode or not. I would watch it every week.
Yeah, I would love to be there every week, to be honest with you, boy. I want that raw Charlie Sheen. And I want that White House Mike Irvin. You know what I'm saying? Just so he can. All right, let me stop before I get in trouble.
It was a different time. It was a different time. Yep, it was. I so appreciate you. Congrats on everything. And let's see if we see the U in the playoffs this year, maybe we can get a run in, and we'll see if you're on those sidelines, which I know you will be. And then, of course, the Cowboys. We'll see what they do over the second half of the season. But I know you're a busy man, and you mean a lot to me, and I so appreciate you joining the show.
Pete, I appreciate you having me, man. I really do, man. And listen, I enjoy working with you over the network, man. And I enjoy watching you now over there with my boy Stephen A.
I'm trying.
Right,
you know we're in Dallas on Monday.
Yeah, but we'll be out. No, he called me. I'll be out there. I'll be over there hanging out with it, too, messing around, cranking it up, having fun. And that's the best part of life. Hey, we get to be around the game and then be around people like we'll be around Monday that loves the game and just crazy like us about it. So you can't ask for anything better than that, bro.
Totally. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, man. Anytime, buddy.
All right. I've been wanting to bring this guy on for a bit since we got started with this new show, the Schrager Hour, because I love talking to him maybe more than any of the ex-players we talk with, because he's got such insights in so many different coaches, but also so many different quarterbacks, and his experience is incredible. 15 years in the league, notably played for the Patriots and the Browns, but also the Cardinals, the Texans, the Bears, the Niners, the Colts, and most recently the Raiders. He's also a Super Bowl champion, and I think he's a great friend of mine. Brian Hoyer, welcome to the Schrager Hour.
Thanks for that intro, Schrags. That was awesome. I mean, I remember first time meeting you back when I was playing in Cleveland, I believe. We were some young bucks back then, and now I get to see you on ESPN doing a tremendous job, one of the most knowledgeable analysts in the game. So I'm glad to be here.
I think you're tremendous, as you know, but I really, if I'm being honest, it wasn't just to do the Brian Hoyer deep dive. This is about Drake Maye. I am blown away what we're seeing from Drake Maye in year 2 versus what we were seeing in year 1. And the scary part is I talked to sources in New England. We both have them, and they haven't scratched the surface yet. From what I'm being told, Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, is giving him a little bit this week and a little bit next week. And then we're adding on it this week. And that's why each week you're seeing more and more and more. You started the Quick Snap pod with David Andrews last year, and you guys watched Drake Maye's rookie season. And now you guys are having great success with this podcast in year 2. What have you seen from year 1 to year 2 from Drake Maye, knowing that not only were you a former Patriot quarterback, you were one of Josh McDaniels' favorite guys in the room?
It's been incredible, Schrags. I mean, just, being so close to the team, living here, going to training camp, watching some of the games last year, covering it in our podcast. And last year, David Andrews was an active player. So, he went on IR, he was hurt, but he was in the locker room. He understood what was going on. He got to know this kid who was just 22 years old at the time. And And David, dealing with that injury, one of the reasons he said he wanted to try to continue to play this year was to be able to have a year playing with Drake Maye.
Wow.
And that's how impressive this kid was at 22. And I would say, look, he went through some tough times last year, got thrown in the fire. It wasn't a great situation. And that builds some resiliency and gives you some perspective. And what he's been able to do in just 365 days, I mean, don't forget, he didn't start until week 6 last year. And here he is, a bona fide MVP candidate. And I as soon as I saw Josh was coming back here, I'm like, this kid is just going to be incredible, because Josh is going to teach him the right way. You pair that with what he is when it comes to the talent pool that is Drake Maye, like 6'5", 230, can run it, can throw it. It's been a perfect pairing. I knew they would get there. I didn't know it was going to happen this quickly. Because after week 1, it's just been, blazing trails straight ahead. Every week I'm reading he's breaking this record, he's matching this guy. It's been unreal. And I think you kind of like are waiting for the other shoe to drop, but each week he goes back out. And, last Sunday was against the Cleveland Browns, which is a very good defense. Myles Garrett did get to him
5 sacks.
Didn't bother him, didn't phase him. Just gets back up and throws a dime to Kayshon Boutte down the field, gets Diggs involved. I think the one thing that I've seen, having played in that system, he's thrown to the open guy. And everyone will say, well, of course, that's the job. But when you get a play calling from Josh, there's a purpose for that play. And throughout the week, you understand, okay, on this play, it's a hard play action, I'm going to get to Mac Hollins. Or on this play, it's Kayshon Boutte's got a double move, I'm taking a shot down the field. Like, there was one play in the game, he hit Austin Hooper down the middle of the seam. And it's a play I've run a million times. And you kind of, when you're writing on the paper of the route, like, you just alert that. It's not really part of the read. It's kind of one of those.
It's there. Yeah.
It's there, but it's like the defense really not going to ever give it to you. Well, the defense gave it to him and he hit it so quickly. I'm like, this guy is seeing the defense. He's understanding the concept of the play so well. And look, it's been fun to watch. And ultimately, and I said this last year covering him, the attitude that he brings off the field, he kind of has this aw shucks, humble mentality. And I asked him about it. He was on our podcast. I said, is that because your 3 older brothers just beat up on you your whole life? He said, yeah, it has a lot to do with it. But the humility that he has, like I have my 13-year-old son who's starting to play quarterback. Like, I'm excited to sit down and watch every game that Drake's playing with my son to kind of show him, like, this is the way to do it. And you don't really get that from a lot of 23-year-old kids.
No. All right. Patriots fans who might be watching want to geek out. Give us a story that maybe you have on Drake Maye that can get them excited, either on the field or off the field. What has Drake Maye done that you personally have seen that has touched you that you're like, oh, wow, this guy's different?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, being able to be there at training camp last year, this year, you get to see him up close and get on the field. I mean, the guy is huge. You don't realize it. And people always say this to me, man, I never expected you to be so tall. Well, when you're surrounded by 6'5", 6'7" offensive linemen, now when you meet Drake Maye, you're like, this guy's all of 6'5", and he can see over the line. He could make every throw. But like I said, the personality off the field is so endearing to his teammates. Like when Hunter Henry last year in his rookie year is giving them praise, like I know Hunter, having played with him, he's not doing that just to build the confidence. He really means it. And then you see the way that guys gravitate to him. And it's not just the offensive players, it's the defensive players coming over and dapping him up on the sideline. Like, we're going to get you the ball back. They believe in that. We had Robert Spillane on the podcast yesterday, and I asked him, like, what is having Drake Maye, this coming out party, what has that done for the defense? He's like, man, we know we have an elite playmaker. We're going out there and playing for him because we want to get him the ball back. And so it resonates through the entire team. And you'll love this. A few weeks ago, Drake just out of nowhere shows up to a random high school football game. I happened to be there because it was the school my son goes to. And I think he just thought, like, what's the big deal? I'm just going to go watch a football game. I mean, there was
Friday night in New England,
Friday Night Lights showed up, and they had to literally get a police escort for him because people are losing their minds because they're like, is this the next, great quarterback that the Patriots are going to have? He's here on a Friday night. I think, like, it just goes to show you, he didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. It was a big deal. It was a huge deal, but it shows to you, where he is as the humility that comes along with being an MVP candidate and just being like, yeah, I'll show up to this high school football game.
I've spoken to Robert Kraft a bunch in my career, and I remember talking to him last year. It must have been before the season. And he mentioned something that was kind of random at the time, but like it adds up now. And he says, when Drake came after we drafted him, he brought his girlfriend with him, and he's been dating this girlfriend since they were in high school, and now they're married, and he's 23 years old, and he's with his high school sweetheart. And Kraft was basically saying like, he's a sweet kid, and like he comes from good family, and here he is about to start the career of filling in for Tom Brady in those shoes. And at 23, he's married, he's secure, he's with a family that obviously supports him in every way. And like, away we go. It feels like he's wise beyond his years.
No, definitely. I mean, you forget sometimes that he's 23 years old. I have to, like, I'm sitting there with my son, and I'm looking at my son, I'm looking at Drake, and I'm like, I'm 17 years older than Drake, and Drake's only 10 years older than you.
That's a great way to put it.
That was like a aha moment to me, because he carries himself like he's a 30-year-old, 10-year vet in the league, right? And the way he's handled the success has been so refreshing, especially in an era where it's all about me. It's about how do I build my brand. Like this kid, he talked about it. The Patriots just did player intros for the first time since 2001. Right?
Talk about this, because this is so cool. All right, so
like,
2001, they come out in the Super Bowl, and it's like, we're going out as a team, and they've never done player introductions since.
Yeah. And so
now
Drake
they decide to do it. And how does Drake Maye do this?
He's like, I was more nervous for the introductions. I never, we haven't done that. I didn't know what to do, and I don't have any swag. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what your swag is, kid? Like going out there and just tearing up the league right now. Like that's like the best swag to have is being the best player on the field, and that's what he's had.
I mean, and is that not swag in itself to say you have no swag?
Yeah,
like in a weird way, like I've got no game. Oh, you've got game.
Right.
Like,
but he's opened up a little bit this year. We've seen him pull out the Cam Newton Superman against the Carolina Panthers. Like you've seen the leadership. And a few weeks ago, Austin Hooper was talking at the podium, and they were asking about Drake, and he said, like, to see the maturity in this kid from year 1 to year 2, he's in meetings now saying, hey, look, receiver, whoever, if you want me to throw the ball to you on this route, I need you to run it like this. Like the ownership over the offense in this short amount of time. And as you said with Josh, like just getting started.
Let's get into the Josh of it all, because you played for him for many years, obviously. And then, you were in Vegas with him also. And obviously you've known Josh 20 years of your career and your life. I feel like for all that is talked about Josh McDaniels and his 2 opportunities to be a head coach, neither one of them leading to much success beyond a start in Denver, like he's still sort of a mystery man to the person at home. Take us through why he is so successful as an offensive coordinator, but also with the quarterbacks that he's worked with.
I mean, as you mentioned before, I've kind of seen it all when it comes to NFL offenses. I've played in every system there is. I've played for Josh. I've played for Norv Turner. I've played for Kyle Shanahan. Nick Sirianni. I've played for a lot of different guys. And the one thing I'd say about Josh, his goal is to educate the quarterback. So he has, Josh would call it tools in your tool belt when you're out on the field, because you can't, there's unscouted looks. Things are going to come about that you're not prepared for. And he builds a foundation for you as a quarterback to have the solutions out on the field. We can't always, this isn't college. We can't look over to the sideline and say, what do we do? Right. His goal is to make the quarterback the coach on the field and the executive out on the field. And for forever, we saw it with Tom Brady, who's the greatest of all time. And so it's a very high standard, and Josh isn't going to take any shortcuts. You know what I mean? He's not going to say, we got to get you going quicker. We're going to get shortcuts. No, he's going to put you through the ringer. I've seen it with young quarterbacks, whether it was Jarrett Stidham or Mac Jones, and it was tough. He was tough on those guys, but they benefited from it. And you've seen that with Drake Maye. People were talking early in the offseason, like, is it too much for Drake? They said it after week 1. Is this offense too much for Drake? And what did he do? The next week came out against Miami and had an incredible performance. And I was like, yeah, this isn't too much for Drake. And having Josh by your side, and I would encourage your fans to listen. Josh was mic'd up during this latest game against the Browns. And there's some great clips of him talking about on the sideline with Drake, like, look, if we get this matchup with one of our guys, we want on one of their guys. Like, go ahead and take that shot. And I think the next play was the Kayshon Boutte touchdown. And you see Josh on the sideline. He's like, all right, 37, back up. Like, he's walking through the play. He covers every base. He dots every I, crosses every T. And in the way he game plans, you feel like I'm the most prepared player I could possibly be. And so when you take that and can execute on the field, that's what we're seeing right now with Drake Maye.
I feel like there's he's such an interesting character, Josh, more so even than Drake, just for, the ups and downs of his career, and where he was the darling, got the opportunity. Then he was down in, St. Louis brought him in with Spags as the offensive coordinator briefly. Yep. And then he was the darling again, gets another opportunity with Indianapolis, says, I'm not going to do that the last second. Then he became everybody's number one villain. And then he was the darling again. And then he goes to the Raiders and it flames out. I feel like there's a resolve to Josh that's kind of a cool story in all this also. And you've watched him the whole way. Has his personality changed? What has he learned? And I could talk to him directly, but I feel like you're a good person to ask these questions.
Yeah, no, I think, look, I've had different experiences with Josh throughout my career. I mean, I've known the McDaniels family since I was in high school. Josh's dad, Tom, is a legendary high school head coach in Ohio, the Canton Bulldogs, where Josh and his brother both played.
You're what, a St. Ignatius guy, right?
I'm a St. Ignatius guy, played Canton McKinley multiple times down there in Fawcett Stadium. So I've known his family for a long time. My first experience with Josh, because as you mentioned before, right when I got to New England was when he left to go to Denver. So I learned the system, but I learned it from Bill O'Brien. And then Josh came back in 2012. I got released in favor of Ryan Mallett, which I never let Josh down on that one. When I came back, I reminded him, I should have probably stuck around. But I came back in 2017 mid-year, and it was great to pick up where we kind of left off. And I had an understanding of the system, and I learned so much from him. And I think he's been so innovative. And the one thing I would say, and I literally just texted him this yesterday because of the mic'd up, he's coaching with a lot of joy right now. And I think, when you coach for Bill Belichick, as long as you do, when you become the head coach, there's a lot of stress, right? And I think that year off gives him a lot of perspective. And I think, how thankful he is to be coaching back with the Patriots, right? To be coaching a guy like Drake Maye and to see him celebrate. I saw him do a chest bump, I think, with Todd Downing on the side. I'm like, I don't remember that job. You know what I mean? And like, to see that, it makes me happy to know that he's having a lot of fun and joy coaching this team, and the opportunity that he has to be back with the Patriots.
You mentioned you used to also play for Kyle Shanahan in multiple spots. You were there with him in Cleveland. And then I remember when he went to the Niners, you were his guy. He brought you along, and you were that quarterback there before they ultimately would end up drafting other quarterbacks and go on from there. Mac Jones, interesting story. A toast of the town, Pro Bowler, playoffs as a rookie, out of the league almost after, not out of the league, out of New England, then Jacksonville, a forgettable year. Now he's third in the league in passing yards, and Kyle has resurrected his career. Take us through the difference between maybe Josh and then Kyle Shanahan as far as an offensive coordinator and the way that they go about things, or an offensive coach, considering he's the head coach in San Fran. Yeah,
I mean, look, Kyle, I would say that was my first year as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Kyle was my offensive coordinator in Cleveland. We had a great run, and it didn't last the full season because we dealt with some injuries, and that was the Johnny Manziel year and everything. But, he felt confident enough in me to bring me back when he became a head coach in San Francisco. And once again, we had a young team. I think we lost every game that I started either on the last possession or in overtime that season. And then they traded for Jimmy G, which inevitably got me back to New England, which was great. But Kyle, I learned so much about the fundamentals of playing quarterback from Kyle. He had a lot of great drills that we did with footwork, and I learned a great understanding of reading zone coverage. He was obsessed with it, and I learned so much from that. And so I feel, so grateful that those were two of my biggest influences on my football career and how I look at offense. And so, with Kyle and what he's done with Mac has been incredible. And I was there for Mac Jones, his rookie year and his second year. His rookie year, he had Josh, right? And he was a Pro Bowl quarterback. And then I think it's well documented after that, it was in shambles, right? Like, the decision to not bring in an offensive coordinator. And I love Matt Patricia and
so do I.
It wasn't the right fit. And in a weird way, what Mac learned from Josh as a rookie was a blessing and a curse, because he learned so much. And then when this new system came in that didn't make a lot of sense, he questioned everything. And I think, he could have handled it better. We all could have handled it better. But now to see him have the chance to go out and play for Kyle, another guy I've played with, has got him playing back to that level, because Mac's greatest asset is his mind, right? He wants to be able to see things, process them, get the ball out. And that's exactly what he's done with the 49ers. And we're starting to see a trend in the NFL of guys getting some second chances, right? Look at Daniel Jones, another MVP.
Second, third, in some cases, fourth chances.
I mean, the fact that Sam Darnold and Baker were on the same team in Carolina, and they couldn't figure it out for those guys there. It just goes to show you sometimes it's about the situation you're in and how you can take advantage of it. So I love that Baker's balling. I love that Sam Darnold's playing the way he's playing, that Daniel Jones is getting this opportunity. Maybe Mac Jones continues to play and someone needs him, and goes out and trades for him and signs for him because he's resurrected his career. And I think a lot of that has to do with being around the guys that can come up with a game plan, but also teach you how to play the game the right way. And so, Mac has landed in the right spot in that regard to be able to be paired up with Kyle.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the Patriots real quick because you're there, you live and breathe it. Like, it's a fun story nationally, and it's been great to watch. Is there a feeling that they could actually win the division? Or is this more like, hey, house money, this is really the first year with Vrabel and McDaniels and Drake's in the second year? Or is this like, we've got our foot on their throats, like we could do this thing?
Yeah, I think they're starting to believe that as the team. I think when they beat Buffalo at Buffalo, that turned a lot of heads, right? I mean, Buffalo, they had their opportunity, right? Brady leaves, have some down years. Josh Allen's the MVP, who I love Josh Allen. I think guys like Josh Allen allow guys like Drake Maye to have someone to look up to and become the player they are because of what Josh has done. But is it like, man, the window's starting to get closed from what the Bills had the opportunity? Because to go up and beat Buffalo in Buffalo, I get it. Like, is it a fluke? Well, no, the Patriots have won 5 straight, and ultimately they don't get to choose who they're playing. The schedule comes out. It's an NFL team. People can say, oh, it's a weak schedule. They still got to go out and win the games.
Yeah.
And I think they're winning them, and they're realizing, like we said, with Drake and Josh, there's a lot left out there to improve upon. And so I think what's great in the NFL now, we get to see a lot of behind the scenes stuff, whether it's their own
mic'd up team productions. Yeah.
Like when, and I'm sure you saw it, when Drake gave Vrabel the game ball after beating Tennessee, the team that had fired him, and you see the guys are kind of shoving him around, Vrabel's ready to give it back. Like, I see a team who's very well connected and care about one another and playing for one another. And to me, that reminds me of the old Patriots teams that I was a part of. It didn't matter if you were on offense, defense, special teams, coaching staff, whatever it was. Those teams were like this. They were super close, and that's what the Patriots have built. And it's just been accelerated. I knew they would get there at some point. When you have a guy like Vrabel, who's a former player, he's a legend here in New England. He is tough but fair and accountable.
Brian, I didn't see it this year, though.
I mean, I look, I went on record. I thought maybe they were going to win.
Atrocious last season.
I know, but they've made some great additions. You sign Harold Landry, Milton Williams, Robert Spillane. You add some quality defensive guys on that side of the ball. You then shift to the draft. You draft Will Campbell. You draft Travion Henderson. You're getting some of these guys to build. You sign Stephon Diggs. No one knew, what
he was great. It's been a great teammate.
That's what I'm saying. Like, everyone came in, how's he going to be? Like, he's an incredible leader for this team. I think, having that injury and being older, it changes your perspective. I love what he's brought to the team. Mac Hollins has been a huge signing. Him walking in with his bare feet in a chest.
He blocks his ass off.
He does.
Dude.
And then they reward him with some play action passes.
Yep.
So they've kind of created a unique little team that really plays for one another. And ultimately, Drake Maye's playing like an MVP candidate. And so that combined with a stingy defense, I don't think they've given up 50 yards or more to a single running back the whole year. I think that they have the opportunity to make a run this year. There's no need to wait until next year. So it'll be interesting. Trade deadline's coming up. They traded Keon White. They traded
got rid of 2
Al
guys.
Duggar. Like, are there some other people that they're looking to acquire? I mean, you can make the move now. I think it's time to go.
I watched this Patriots team, and what screams to me, they seem like they're, yes, you said joyous, so unselfish.
Yeah. Which that's always been a Patriots staple, right?
It has. And like
they're
leading receivers each week. I'm going through it here. Booty 1 week, Diggs another week, Hunter Henry another week, Mac Hollins another week. Stevenson led them 1 week. It's like, it's just an unselfish group that seems to be celebrating each other. And that's usually the hallmark of a good team and a good culture. And Vrabel's already instilled it.
No doubt. I mean, it's been fun to watch. I think having been the majority of my year as a New England Patriot, but also play for all those other teams, there's a lot of hatred for New England out there. Okay. And I think people are like, really? this
again
it's happening
soon.
this fast. So I think there's a little bit of a hesitancy to like kind of confirm what's actually happening. But look, I think they're going to play Atlanta this week. Atlanta has a good defense, but they should win that game, and they'll have 7 wins, right? They'll be 7-2, and then they'll go down, and it'll be a showdown with the Bucs. And I think that'll really be a good measuring stick. It'll be in Tampa. Baker's been playing.
Tampa coming off a bye.
They're coming off a bye. Like if you beat Tampa, if you win the next 2 weeks and you're sitting at 8-2, like it's time to really consider, is it going to be them, the Chiefs and the Colts down the run as like the guys who are going to be going to the Super Bowl? So, it's a halfway mark. Bill Belichick always used to tell us football season starts after Thanksgiving. And I don't think there's a truer statement that I ever heard in 15 years, because you can kind of pretend up until that point. Once Thanksgiving rolls around and you're rolling, and if that's the way the Patriots are playing them, you got to put them in there as a true contender.
I love it. Brian Hoyer, thank you for joining us. Tell us once again the podcast. I listen to it. I love it. And this is why I know you guys are geeking out on it, but you actually give great insight and analysis of why it's happening, and you're inside that building. So it's the Quick Snaps podcast, right?
Yeah, the Quick Snap podcast. We started it last year. We were like Wayne's World. We were down in our basements,
Aurora,
now. Yeah, we as Julian Edelman put it, he was our first guest this year. He's like, you guys really sold out. You're like Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2. We're with NBC Sports Boston. We have a studio. We have guests on. It's a lot of fun. And ultimately, it's David, Andrews, and I breaking down a lot of Patriots games, looking forward to games, talking about old times. It's really, you know what it is? It's locker room talk. And people love it. They love our insight. So check it out. Anywhere you get your podcast, YouTube, Spotify, whatever it might be.
You're fantastic. Brian, thank you so much for joining, and thanks for giving us that little look inside the Drake Maye dream season in year number 2.
No problem. Thanks, Trakes.
Thanks, buddy. That may have been my favorite complete episode that we have done here of the Schrager Hour. Michael Irvin. Come on. Unbelievable. I don't know if these clips were going to go viral or not, but Michael Irvin saying that if Patrick Mahomes was on the Cowboys, they're the Super Bowl favorites is amazing. And then interesting take on Micah, the opportunity lost, of Micah's marketability, Micah's podcast, Micah's ability to walk around Dallas as a legend. Did he sacrifice all of that in the short term for a new contract and the love of the Packers are giving him? I would argue back with Michael Irvin that Packers, if they win the Super Bowl, he made the right move. And if the Packers continue to pay him what he's making, he could be a legend with Green Bay. And that's also pretty special. Brian Hoyer, great on Drake Maye, as always. So I appreciate everybody listening. I've got no voice left. This was fantastic. I hope you're enjoying. Many thanks to our awesome team from Omaha, including Mark Grillo and Tucker and Jack, who's been fantastic doing all these social clips. And then, of course, our music from DJ Leverage. We're going to have another great episode up ahead, but week 9 is a good week. Week 8 was kind of a clunker. Week 9 is a good week of NFL football. Enjoy it. And gosh, I'm still in awe of Michael Irvin and that energy that he brought. Keep on listening, guys. Keep on telling friends, and we'll see you next week.